Hey everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Crys'Dawna. If you are new here, hit the subscribe button. If you're not new here, welcome back, friends and family. Today I'm going to be working on this piece right here. We're going to be doing a layering technique. We want this to have a patina on it, and I want you guys to think of like old world pieces where there's tons of layers and tons of layers and tons of layers to where it builds up. And so that is kind of my idea for this, is to do something that is layered and layered and layered. And we're going to do some pinks and corals and salmons, I think. So I apologize, the sun is a little bit crazy this morning, but I live in Germany and we do not complain about the sun here because once fall comes, the sun goes away. So I'm going to embrace it. If you guys want to see me do this, stay here. We are going to play around with this piece and just stay here so you guys don't miss it. The colors I will be using for this project are called Blushing Coral, Rope Swing, which is a light gray, and Nirvana. And these are all by Daydream Apothecary paints. And then the texture additives I'll be using is the Driftwood and Rough Rock texture additives by Autentico. I'm going to pour the rope swing in a separate mixing container, and you can see right here that the Driftwood texture additive is super fine, and so I'm going to add it a little bit at a time. And what I want is this to be a little bit more, so a lot of times when I mix my texture additives, I mix them to a brownie-like batter consistency. I don't want this quite as thick because I'm going to put this on the entire piece, and I'm going to use this to create a fine textured layer. So I'm going to mix this until it almost feels like a cake batter consistency. Once I have it to the consistency that I want, I am going to stipple it on the entire piece, and this is going to create a thinner, kind of lighter texture. Next color I'm going to use is called Comfort Zone, and this is a warm white. I'm going to mix the Rough Rock texture additive in there, and I'm going to make it just slightly thicker than the one that I just did. This is a little bit more rough of a texture, and so it's going to add a little bit more dimension. I am going to stipple this on top of the entire piece as well. I decided to add some Cosmic Conquest by Daydream Apothecary. This is actually from my brand new line, and I added it to the Driftwood. So if you can see this picture right here, this kind of was my inspiration. I really like that patinaed green color mixed with coral lighter pinks, and so I want that to show through, and so I'm going to add this in the cracks and crevices and some of the raised areas, so that way when we distress it later, you can see a little bit of that popping through. Now, once everything is completely dry, and I did want to say that, so I allow all the layers to completely dry before I go to the next step. But now I'm going to add blushing coral on the very top of this piece. So we're going to do it on the top and then the top half of this piece. I'm going to put one layer on here, fairly solid. I may do a little bit of dry brushing over some of the areas with Cosmic Conquest to allow that to pop through, but I am going to put this on the piece, and then on the bottom I am going to put Nirvana, and then I'm going to blend those together. So, before we blend, I want you to know that this paint blends very easily together. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to wet my brush with blushing coral, and I'm going to go over that transition line and move down a little bit into the Nirvana. Then I'm going to put some Nirvana on my brush and start a little bit lower, and I'm going to brush it up into that blushing coral. And these colors are going to blend super easy. I'm going in circles. I'm going to swap over and do my blushing coral brush and just lightly go over it. And these are blended. So this side right here looks a little bit different. It looks more aged and worn and patinaed, right? I'm going to show you exactly how I did that on this side. One of my favorite tools to use, really for anything, but especially to scrape away texture, is my carbide scraper. So you can put more pressure if you want it to go down to the wood. You can do lighter pressure if you just want to take the top area off. But I have found that this is really the easiest and most effective way to get the texture where I want it on these pieces. So I am going to lightly go over this just to bring about some of the wood, pull out some of that Cosmic Conquest, and just pull some of that texture off to reveal the gray and the white underneath as well. The next step is to put a thin layer of wax on your entire piece. So this paint does need to be sealed, and that's why I'm doing wax. But I'm also doing wax because the next step needs it, because it needs something to stick to. So go ahead and put a layer of wax on your furniture, and you're going to possibly repeat this process another time if you want to add more layers, if you want to build up that texture. Okay, so now I'm going to use talc powder. You could use baby powder, and what I'm going to do is sprinkle this on the piece. And you may want to wear a mask for this just because it's such a fine powder. If you use a lot of it, it could cause you to breathe it in. So make sure that you're either in a well-ventilated area or you put a mask on. But you're going to sprinkle this on the piece, and you're going to massage it in with your hands. You can push that powder into the cracks and crevices, but you want to massage this to the point where it feels smooth. You don't want it to feel sticky. What you're wanting is that powder to soak in to that finish, into that wax, to give it that white look, and you also want it to just build up that texture. So again, like I said, you can repeat this process a couple times if you want to continue to build up those layers. And this also, because you put that layer of wax down, is going to seal your piece. Overnight, this talc powder into the wax is going to harden, so it's not going to come off. Now, you may need to take some of the loose powder and wipe it off with a light brush, but other than that, it should stick to this piece really well. And when you're massaging it in, it shouldn't stick to your hand. So again, when you massage it in, you want it to be smooth and feel smooth on the piece. I want to show you one more trick to add a little bit more texture and layers. So I'm going to take a plastic spatula or a plastic paintbrush, whatever they want to call it, or it's a rubber paintbrush, and I'm going to dip it into my paint. So I'm using blush and coral for this, and I'm going to add it into a couple areas that I want to build up. And while it is still wet, I'm going to take the talc powder with my finger and I'm going to dab it so that I can create that texture. It's going to add some texture and it's going to raise it up a little bit, but it's also going to make sure that it is not standing out. So those areas, they stand out right now, but when you do the talc powder over the wet paint, it is going to make sure that it is camouflaged into this entire thing. So this is another way that I added texture. Okay, everybody, this piece is done. This video is done. Here is the piece. There you go. There is the piece. I hope you guys can see it. I really like it a lot. I'm going to put staged photos on here so that you guys can see that as well. Everything I use is in the description below, so make sure you check that out. And until next time, happy creating, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.
Hey, darling. Can I tell you what's been on my mind? Sick and tired of the 9 to 5 in the city life. Hey, darling, we could get out of town, see the beautiful world around, wanna see it now. Pack our bags and get in that car. Leave a little note and we'll drive real far. Let's get out, we can leave this city. Let's drive to the open air. Yeah, the countryside is so pretty, with the wind blowing in your hair. We can look back someday. Baby, don't you understand that we only get one life? I wanna make it count, honey. Come on now and take my hand. Hey, darling, I love it when it's me and you on the road with a couple of tunes in a car for two.